Great, let's jump straight into the Compositing 1 course assignment, where the goal is to create a real-world situation where you've been briefed to comp a shot that looks like this. You've got this plate over here, you also have this plate over here, and you have this plate over here, or not the plate really, but the CG. And then you're also going to be adding the number 9 onto the drone, and in your level 2 process, you're going to be adding a nice kind of glow in front of the pillars, and that's coming from this robot over here. You're rendering out DPXs, screen capture, your nuke script, and also include the picture number 9 and any other additional images used in your script for me to relink. Great. Now, very important, of course, because this is part of a film sequence, do not grade your final shot. Match grain, match blur. So we're going to be talking about these things and how you've gotten there. Now I can see that there's a couple of items here that are offline, or they appear to be offline. We have area over here, area 1 and 2, clean green screen. I'm assuming that is this one over here, so I'm just going to rearrange this whole script to source from there. It's going to be very slow. Unfortunately, I don't have your actual render, so it is going to be a little bit slow. We're going to talk about how you lay it out. You've got grain over here and things like that. Well done. You are grading your original plate right off the bat, which is a very, very big no-no. Definitely cannot and should not grade your background ever. If you ever want to grade it, it should be just before the main output over here, so that you can turn it on and off. Because what's happening is, because this has been graded here, firstly, the shot is not going to cut with any other shots in the sequence, and secondly, all your other color correctors are now dependent on this. So if you change this one color corrector, you're going to have to go in and recolor grade everything else. So definitely big no-no, never ever do this, but we'll discuss all of this in a second. I'm just going to quickly cache everything locally. I'm not sure why it's not cached over here. Just want to have a look at this. At my my caching is updated, so I can see all of these guys nice and play them back nice and fast. There we go. And so let's jump right into this script over here. Just want to have a quick look at the difference over here. Yep, see, so this color correction that you're doing here is definitely making this shot that it'll never, as soon as it goes into the edit, it will look completely different to all the other shots, and the first note that you will get is that the shot looks different. So never ever do this. Also, why do not ever grade your final shot. And that's Myrtle in the background. She's a border collie, very excited border collie. So just excuse her there. She'll say hello once every now and again. Okay, so let's just talk about this, because I have to kind of wrap my head around this. This is definitely a good way to do it, is rendering things out and bringing back in. The only problem is this is very confusing to somebody opening the comp. You don't necessarily know that this plugs in over there. Well, so you have to set this up in a way where it's very obvious. So I'm just going to move that there. Also, not too sure, that's kind of sitting there not doing anything. That was probably a test, an earlier test. So this is kind of how you work. So let's just rearrange this so that it's a little bit neater and easier to follow, just for the eye. Let's move that out of the way. Okay, so we know this goes in here. So let's put this somewhere over there where we know that this write node and this read node, they belong together. Great. Then we have the background plate over here, which is a little confusing. And you've got A's and B's coming in. And I remember we've spoken about doing multiple A's into a merge node. It's also definitely, I would not recommend doing this. You don't know which one is on top. It's just very, very difficult to control that. So I'm going to just take that and move it to the left over here, actually. And actually now I don't know which one really goes on top and which one is where. I'm going to just delete this. I'm going to put this, is also kind of an orphaned merge node here. Is it orphaned? I'm not sure. I'm going to move this just over here. This would be my B pipe, and these would be my A pipes coming into it. I'm going to delete that merge there because that's very confusing. And then first thing we do is we're going to probably merge this drone And probably only after the drone are we going to merge the green screen shot, I'm assuming. Okay, so that makes a whole lot more sense. We have our main background over here. We have our drone coming in. We have our key that's coming in over here. So we have our drone, we have our key, and we have some operations on the background pipe. Okay, so as you can see, this layout is definitely much better visually, just to follow. It's a little bit more difficult to scroll around on the screen, but you're going to be working over here anyway, and this is a full screen view, so don't be too worried about that. You can set your viewer to be 1 over here. Whoops, oh come on, to be 1 over here and to be 2 over there, and you can flick between them as such. Don't try and put everything very close to each other, all these nodes. It becomes quite confusing. Okay, now so there isn't a number 9 over here, so I'm just going to pick a different number 9. Let me just quickly grab one. Oh dear, okay, and while I was grabbing one, this just decided to stop, to crash. So let's just oh dear, let's let Nuke do its little thing, and then while Nuke is booting up, I'm going to find a different number 9 that we can use from somebody else. Unfortunately, that's not ideal, but it's the just in terms of being able to mark. Okay, so there we go. We've got Nuke opening up. Let's hope that it's got an autosave that's fairly new. Yep, we do. Brilliant. I'm going to grab a number 9 texture for us over here. Let's take Andreas or Matt's. Let's take Andreas. Okay, there we go. We've got Andreas number 9 sitting in there for us. We have this background image, and so the first thing that you have to have a look at over here is that just want to have a look at the color space, because you're bringing in this footage over here, but it's set to sRGB. And now remember, this footage, if we go back here, this was not shot on as sRGB. This was shot as color spaces Alexa log C. So it's very, very important that you're setting this not as sRGB but as Alexa log C. See, at the moment it's set to sRGB. It has to be set to Alexa log C. I'm not going to change it right now, because maybe somewhere along the line you've changed it, or you've done something in order to compensate for that. But we can have a look at. Oh wait, there's an A coming in from over here. Oh, that's the constant. Okay, I'm gonna just do this. I don't really know. Oh, these are just duplicates from each other. Okay, doesn't matter. Let's just throw away our expression linking, which with Alt E. So I just want to have a look at what you're doing if you're compensating for the color space issue here. But you can see that that is log C. That's what it should look like, which of course, getting a much more saturated background, way blacks are sitting where they should be. You were working with sRGB, which is the default. Okay, denoising it, you're changing the color the color space to YU or YUV or something. You are, or not to YUV, but to chrominance, luminance. Then you're blurring the two of those or you're blurring your green and blue, and then you're changing that color space back. Okay, then you're doing a bit of an IBK Kia here setup, which is giving you that result, and you multiplying it and merging it back in here. So trying to have a look. Okay, so that's what you're doing here, is you're cleaning up the background plate. I'm very curious as to how much that's helping you here, but it's very difficult to tell, simply because we don't really know how it's working yet. Let's relink this clean green screen with that guy over there. I'm just going to move these two away and reconnect that so that I can get onto my key light and color correct. Okay, so this, it feels like over here you're trying to compensate for that color correction issue by doing that and adding grain over here. So let's also have a look at the grain, only applying through alpha. which is correct. Thanks for only applying that through the alpha. If you hadn't, your grain goes all over the blacks everywhere else. It becomes a bit of an issue. You're blurring it slightly. Okay, so let's quickly talk about this. Like, if we have a focus difference and you're definitely pulling focus somewhere, and there's a very deliberate reason why you're blurring your character, your DOP will have an absolute heart attack if he finds out that you have softened a shot like this by a couple of pixels, by 2.6 size. He will absolutely throw an enormous fit. So, you know, there's better ways to control your grain than to blur the whole thing. Look how soft her eye is becoming there, and that just looks like bad focus pulling, to be honest. So be very, very careful. I would really recommend never to blur your plate unless there's a very specific reason for you to do that. Now, let's quickly go back here. I'm going to disable this 9 because clearly it's not the right size as the one that you used. Or you know what? Let me just do that. We're just going to pretend that number 9 looks absolutely amazing. Okay, so let's just assume that number 9 is there, and I'm just going to color grade it to match because I'm sure it didn't look like that. There we go. Okay, let's ignore 9 for now. And let's go back to our main comp over here. See, so the focus here is clearly still on her. It's not like you've totally blurred her and over here and over this, and kept focus on the drone. She's still the primary focus, and she's soft. So absolutely cannot ever do this. So just totally avoid that. The way to soften your grain is really to just take your intensity of your grain down over here. That's the best way to do it. And another thing that's happening here is that you're still in sRGB now. Thank goodness you're rendering out sRGB. So really what would happen is when you bringing this in and you interpret it as Alexa log C, it would look correct. So for example, if I render this out and I bring it back in, it'll automatically set these black levels correctly. But now what's happening is your keyer is not interpreting the colors correctly, because for your keyer to key this as opposed to keying this is a big difference. And you're never going to get a good key if you're keying something that's not in the right color space. So definitely avoid doing that. I'm going to actually just bring this and I'm going to replace it over here just to see if there's a difference. And it's very difficult to kind of do this now because you've set up all your settings and things for this color over here. But it's definitely not looking correct. We've got some big edge issues over here. You can see these levels are blacker than the blackest levels over here. So these black levels are a problem. They're not correct. They're probably not going to be. And that is why let's have a look. Your background is also set to sRGB. This must also be Alexa log C. And that's very important. This is also color space. It needs to come in as Alexa log C. Let's have a quick look at your drone and how you've brought your drone in. This is linear, correctly interpreted. So the linear, you're color correcting, plus, multiply. Great stuff. That's looking cool. You're pre-malting here. I don't know why you're pre-malting here. Because you're going and then you're color correcting it. You've got a merge node here that nothing's connected to. That shouldn't be there. This grade node shouldn't be here. You must always color correct before pre-malting. Always color correct before pre-malting. You've got your grain, your blur, tracker, transform. You're overing that guy, more transforms, rotor, and another pre-malt. So you're pre-malting twice. Just watch out for that. There's no reason to pre-malt twice. There's no reason to have this pre-malt here. And let's have a look at what that is doing in terms of the black edges, because I think this might be a reason why we have these black edges, or where these black edges are coming from. I'm not 100% sure where they are coming from. This rotor is to chop that guy off. Okay, fair enough. This is pre-malting that there. This pre-malt, as you can see, is totally irrelevant at this point. You're just damaging your edges, really. I want to have a look here. This is color grading, RGB. Also, Please go left to right, not right to left, because otherwise you're covering your mask input and you can't use it. So always left to right, never right to left. Okay, you're doing a grade here. All right, pre-melting, graining. This grain is definitely way too much. You're also blurring after your grain. Now, why would you want to blur your grain? You definitely need to first be blurring and then adding the grain. And also now you're not adding grain to the number 9 because you're first applying the grain and then merging the 9 in. So you have to just make more space here. You're going to have to kind of take this blur, put it over here so that it also affects the number 9, as you can see there. Then take your grain and apply that afterwards so that you're applying grain on everything. And then we can just turn down this grain intensity and you can spend some time to match it to the plate. And then when we pre-melt this, have a look at that. That is definitely looking a lot better. Now you're blurring your 9, you're graining your 9, you're doing all of that stuff to your number 9. And it definitely helps. This pre-melt here is unnecessary. And this blur here, as you can see, what you're doing is you're blurring the alpha, which is correct. But what's happening is you're blurring it in such a way that you're also blurring the little black edges. And that's happening because you're blurring it before it's been pre-melted. And I know I say pre-melt over here. So the only way to do that is to blur it after the pre-melt. But then you also don't want to be pre-melt blurring your grain. So you got to take your grain out and you got to put that out here as well. And that's the only way to really do this. The only way to get rid of these black edges, if we just go back here where there we go. I can't really see them here, but we're going to have to put an erode node here and just basically kind of choke those edges out. Here we go. Let's just erode that. And they're still sitting there. It's quite strange. Why are they still there? There we go. Gone. And I'm doing that right at the top here. I'm not doing it over here or close to here because I think it's you're going to be losing a lot of that edges, and you're also then going to be eroding in here, which you don't want to do. You see over here, you're not eroding this edge, but there's definitely a problem there with that edge, and I'm not quite sure what that is. If this is just too soft, why that edge is looking so bad. Where's that roto node? I can't see this roto node. Why can I not see it? Roto. I'm not sure why I can't see this, but there's definitely an issue here. You're going to have to solve that issue as well. Okay. So now we've improved this look a little bit. This blur is of course way too much. It's 5 pixels, which is enormous. So let's just take this down to like 1 or 2 pixels. 2 pixels, definitely a lot better. Remember, focus is on the foreground here. It's in this plane over here. So don't try and match this background plane over here. You can also see now the black levels on this guy does not match the background because the background is sRGB. You're going to have to set that to Alexa log C. Now this is definitely looking a lot better. Okay, now that we've got that to Alexa log C, we've got this drone over here. Okay, well now we can have a look at color grading this a little bit better to match. So let's just have a look at this grade node here, which now all of a sudden has to go in the other direction just to get this to match a bit better. There we go. And now let's have a look at when we comp her in, and you can see that her black levels are not correct because she has not been comped in the right color space. So I'm gonna just quickly redo this very quickly. I'm gonna take this green screen. I'm just gonna put a key light in here, and I'm gonna do this really quickly, so don't see this as the best way to do it. I'm just gonna source a bit of green over there to create that key light effect. Okay, great. Then I'm just gonna transform that. I'm just gonna pick my version. You can move it there. Great. Okay, so I've got all kinds of issues over here. My key is definitely not right, and that's because my background isn't clean enough. I'm not going to try and fix that now because I know I can use that IBK gizmo to generate a nice clean background. I'm just going to choke those. I'm just going to clip those out slightly. And it's a bit of a pity because I'm losing all of this info here. But just for now, just to the sake of getting this right, I'm showing you kind of where you should be hitting. That's not looking too bad. I'm just going to clip my white ever so slightly to bring that back. And now I still have a whole bunch of this horrible stuff happening here. Now, I didn't even despill this. I mean, I didn't even denoise it. So let me denoise that real quick, just to get a. There we go. Just to make sure that I don't have any of that stuff there. It's looking better. And let's go back into my key light. I'm just going to clip a little bit more of that black. Something like that. And I can move wherever I want to have it. Okay, so first thing, of course, is now the black levels are looking totally different to yours. Not in a bad, well, in a bad way in one way, but in this way, I'm going to now just color correct her slightly to match. I'm going to go into my key light. I'm going to go that final result unpre-malted for me, please. I don't want to see the pre-malted image over here because I'm going to grade it and then I'm going to pre-malt it afterwards. So now with my grade node over here, I can go into my black level. I can go, you should probably be sitting something over there. My white level, it's very warm. I'm going to just compensate a little bit for that. Maybe move it into this direction here to make it just sit in the scene a little bit better. Something like that. And this might match a little bit better. She's still a little bit soft compared to him, even though I'm not blurring her in the slightest. So I'm just going to go to my drone and I'm going to blur that a little bit more. Let's go here. Let's just push that up to something like that. Now, as you can tell, this comp is quite far away from being done. This key over here is not good. And my drone I've got some issue over here. I don't know if this is happening on your side as well, and if it's just happening on my side. So have a look at what's causing that. If it is on your side as well, and how to fix that. Because of course this is a bit of a problem. But everything else I think is looking okay. But there are some issues that I think you should be addressing in the shot. All right, I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know. If there's anything else over here that you want me to discuss and to look at, I'm very happy to open this up again and run through it and have a look at how we can improve the shot a little bit more. Great, I hope that was helpful.